G'day, my name's Christopher Vanel and welcome to my video. First and foremost, I would like to apologise in advance because I'm a bit sick and I will be clearing my throat every now and then during this video. Now this video will come in two parts. So it's all about the energy services in New South Wales specifically, but I may touch on other states. So the first part of this video, which will be continuing on from this single recording, is to explain how energy services in Australia work. So that's the first bit. And the second part to this video, which I'll record later on, is how to do a self-quote through my website. So let's get started with how energy services work in Australia. Okay, so many of you know me as Christopher Vanel or Chris, and many of you also know that I'm also spotto, right there. So I'm on the default page or main page of Pinoya U Sydney. Now the reason why I bring you to this page is because a few months ago, actually it's probably close to a year now, or yeah, I think so, close to a year, I've posted information about applying for your energy services when you move home or if you want to switch providers. Now there's a few things I need to explain, and I've done it through a couple of posts, and every now and then I'll get a few questions and I'll refer to the same post. Now even though I've explained it in all text, I think it's still better to explain it in audio or video, hence why I'm doing this for you guys, because I still get the same questions, needing clarification. So hopefully you'll spend the time to watch this video and actually take on the information that I'm providing. Now this on Pinoya U, I'm gonna bring you to the page what I'm referring to. So I've actually tagged it, hoping it to be sticky. So if I search sticky on the Pinoya U page, you'll notice the first thing that comes up is hoping to be a sticky. Now this is what I'm referring to. Now if we open that, hopefully you can follow along later on once you've finished watching the video, read all the information that's here. Now this was back in September 2019. The information, some of the information may be obsolete, especially the default market offer. I will discuss that later on, but basically it's all here. How energy is supplied, how energy is sold, and who reads the meter, how is energy calculated, who takes care of the electric meters, who's responsible for reading them, who's responsible for when there are faults, you know, if you've got blackouts or brownouts. So it's all here, and the billing is even included. I did provide links here, but I believe they might be obsolete and may not take you anywhere. But I'd like to, if you open this page on another device, and I can go through it with you and explain it to you more in detail. But for now, what we're actually doing, or what I'm actually doing is going through it verbally and through this video. So first of all right, let me switch the camera so you're not just watching the screen. Let's switch the camera. So first of all, in New South Wales, majority of New South Wales, we have three suppliers. So it's an Endeavour Energy, Ausgrid, and I believe the other one is Essential Energy. I rarely hear of Essential Energy these days. I don't know which area they supply, but they're the main ones for New South Wales. Being the supplier, they do not sell directly to the public. So what that means is, if I say, hey, like what I said, you know, Endeavour Energy, Essential Energy, and Ausgrid are the suppliers, you can't just go and ring up Ausgrid and say, hey, I want to purchase, or I want to sign up for an electricity account. It doesn't work that way. These suppliers or distributors on-sell the electricity to retailers. Now, you'll be more familiar with this. So you've got your Energy Australia, your AGLs, your Red Energy, your Origin, your Alinta. You've even got Revamp now that's come out just recently. So these are all retailers, okay? Now, the recent change that I mentioned before was actually back in July 1st, 2019. Now, prior to this, just a bit of a background. Prior to 2019, July 1st, each retailer had their own benchmark for energy use, average energy usage for households. So they can potentially say, hey, the average for a household will be so and so in kilowatts. This is how much dollars you'll cost, and this is how much discount we're going to apply. So we say discount based on that average that they've just spit out, you know, through their system, or whatever the company decided to use as a benchmark. Moving forward to July 1st, 2019, the government has put a stop to this. So it's called a default market offer. So every retailer has to base their discounts on the single same average usage for the household. So it's going to be a level playing ground now. So that means it's you could shop around and they'll give you discounts, and it's relative to the average, so it's fair. There are some companies offering 8%, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, but you need to shop around, okay? Now, the other thing is, so they on-sell to the supplier. So their suppliers are that. So then the supplier, you know, that's where you ring up, or through online. Most of these days you can do it online. It takes you 5 minutes to sign up for an electricity through the retailer, but then is supplied by either Endeavour Energy, Ausgrid, and Essentials Energy. Now, depending on which area, which suburb you're in, you may have an overlap who's actually supplying the energy. It's out of your control, so whoever's supplying the energy in your area, that's it. You know, if you have a fault, it will actually be on your bill who's your supplier is. If you had a brownout or power is out, you can actually call them up and ask, hey, what's going on? Power's out. Now, how do we pay, or how do you get charged for electricity? It's like anything else. You get charged for usage. I hear this a lot. So people will shop around, they'll come to me, or I offer my services in connecting them, show them how much they'll save in their current electricity. Yeah, fair enough, I can save them, but it's for that particular bill that they received. So if their usage goes up in the next 3 months or next month, and they receive a bill, and obviously you get charged more because you use more energy, you can't really say, hey, you've signed me up for a retailer, and they're charging me more. Well, that's not really the case, because you've used more energy, you obviously need to pay more. So that's the misconception. You can't just go around and ask retailers, hey, can you give me the cheapest? Can you give me the cheapest? Give me the biggest discount, and so forth. Now, talking about discounts. Now, some will give you a big discount, especially in the old days, but we'll talk about what's current. Some will give you a discount, a big discount, but then you got to look at the overall picture. They may give you a big discount, but they may charge you a higher rate per kilowatt. So let's say a certain retailer will charge you 30 cents per kilowatt and give you a 30% discount if you pay on time. Fair enough, big discount. And another supplier comes along and say, hey, I can only offer you 15% discount, but I'll only charge you 21 cents per kilowatt. So you do the maths. So basically, if it's usage, less the discount, and so forth. So usually the discounts are applied at pay on time. Now, pay on time, you will only get the discount if you pay on time for certain retailers. What happens if you don't pay on time? Well, you get the full amount. You don't get the discount that they've offered you. On top of that, if you don't pay on time, you get charged a full rate, and you paid late, then you may be up for a late payment fee as well. So with these type of offerings, you got to be vigilant in paying your bills on time. So most of the time, if you know you've got money in that account, just do direct debit so you don't forget. But for those who are, budgeting really hard or making it really tight, trying to squeeze everything in, like what we do is we want to see the bill first before we pay. So what we do is we get invoice first, we look at the bill, and then we use BPay as a form of payment. Now you can use credit card, but obviously there's a 3% charge, or for our one it's 3% charge on top. But what I'm trying to say is you just gotta be vigilant and make sure that if you're taking up the offer of pay on time discount, you do pay on time. Otherwise, there's no point in shopping around if you're not going to pay anyway. Now the other type is built-in discount. So this is where they don't offer you a discount, but they've already built it into the rates. So 21 cents per kilowatt as opposed to 29 cents. Do the math, so there's like 8 cents difference, but with no discount. But it's there. The discount is built in, so they've already taken it off in the rates. The beauty about this one is, even if you don't pay on time, not that I'm telling you shouldn't, you will still get the same low rate. They won't bump up the price because you didn't pay on time. Although you may be hit with a late payment fee, but if you do the math again, the late payment fee may not be as big as the penalty for not paying on time on a pay on time discount offer. So they're the offerings that you get for most retailers. I should really make sure I use the right term here. Okay, now if you notice your bill, you will have different items on them. So what I'll do is I'll pull up a bill and I'll show you what I mean. Actually, I'll show that later in the next video of when you do your self-quoting through my website. So when you read through the post that I've done through the search sticky under PNIU, and you could read all that. There is another post that I did. I think you need to search electricity. I'll do now while I've got the camera facing me. Electricity. Maybe I'm on the wrong page. Not that one. Okay, that's it. Just bear with me. Electricity. Because here I actually discuss the different types of tariff. Now, the tariff is what they use to read your usage with. Now, okay, electricity. Just looking for my post. Here it is, and it actually says, oh no, has brought me back to sticky. Oh, here it is. So it talks about solar as well. So tariffs and tariff types. So basically this is what's contained in the bill, how you're charged. So it's referred to as what's being charged to the customer. So you've got your fixed charge and your variable charge. Your fixed charge is your daily usage. I forgot to mention this before. On top of the kilowatts per hour that you use, you have actually daily supply, which normally plays around between 70 above cents to over 80 cents per day. So you got to take that in consideration too when you're shopping around. So that's the fixed charge, the daily supply. Now the variable charge is where the tariff comes in. So you got your single rate, time of use, block rate, control load, and so forth and so forth. I won't go into too much detail, but what you need to take note is the variable charge is more than likely dependent on the type of meter that's installed at your property. Now, the meter box that's sitting on the side of your house where they do the meter reads is owned and supplied by the supplier. So if that goes kaboom, if you're renting, ring your landlord, or if worst case scenario, you have to ring the supplier and tell them it's blown up, they need to replace it. If you ring your retailer like AGL, Energy Australia and so forth, you can, but they'll advise you to ring the supplier because they own that meter and they'll be the one replacing it or repairing it. So meters, you know, you'll have your, just an example, most of the time you'll see peak usage. This is only a single rate, so it's just the whole usage for the whole house. So one reading. You may have two, because there might be different times, so they might have a different price from certain hours of the day, and then peak hours it might have a different time. There's also the controlled load, where there's a certain appliance in the house. Normally it's either the hot water system or the stove. No, actually it's just the hot water system. I don't think the stove will be on a controlled load, because what they're doing here, because the hot water system is being heated by electricity, they put that in a separate circuit breaker and have a different meter and have a different rate. So that's where you got your controlled load 1s and 2s. Now, when you're applying for electricity, you probably don't need to know all that, because the retailer can only charge you based on what is actually being used. So if you have just a single rate meter, they'll use that. If they detect that you have a controlled load 1, or you have a smart meter, the new ones, digital, and they can read from the internet or remotely. I don't know if it's through the internet, but I know they can read it remotely. Then obviously they use the appropriate charging for your electricity, so they can't fool you that way. So that's to do with the tariff. So that's in my, if you search electricity in Pinoy AU, there will be a post that I did back in July 2019. So just explaining the tariffs and the feed-in tariffs. Oh, feed-in tariffs. Tell me about feed-in tariffs. Feed-in means this is applicable to houses with solar panels. So if you have a solar panel, make sure you tick it, or make sure you let your retailer know that you have solar, because what happens is your panels will grab electricity, it will feed it back into the grid, you get money for it. So, well, when I say money, they credit your account. So essentially you're giving back electricity to the grid and you get paid for it. So normally it's around about 14, 15, 16, 17 cents per kilowatt, depending on what the tariff rate is. So again, that's something that pretty much determined by what you have at home and what's installed. Normally there's only one at the moment, one feed-in tariff. Okay, and going back to the meters again, the meter reading is done by the supplier, and in turn the supplier will then provide that meter reading to the retailer, and in turn calculate your usage in kilowatts, multiply it by the rate, and you get your total. And also they multiply the daily usage, the daily supply, by the number of days being supplied, and they add those up, add a GST, and you get your bill. Again, I'll show you that in the next video. Now when it comes to meter reading, you just gotta, if you live in a house, you gotta make sure that there is public access for the meter readers to come in and read your meters. So more than likely your meter box is to the side of the house. It could be before your fence or after the fence. Either way, they need to gain access. If you have a dog, restrain them. If you have a padlock on the meter reader, on the meters, make sure you unlock them. And there's clear access. It's not dangerous for the person to go through and read the meter. So that's for houses. Now for apartment buildings, unit blocks, all the meter readers from the supplier will have master key. The only instance I've encountered where they can't read the meters is when the actual meter box is located inside the compound, where you need to have access through the main door, where you need to be swiped in, called in, or let in by someone. But normally they just ring all the doorbells and try to get access, but it's very rare. Though if they say they can't get access and you know that they have access, then I'll call bullshit. They're just plain lazy, or just don't want to do the job. So just take note of that. If you do have problems with meter reads and they keep doing estimates, now that I mentioned estimates on the bill, I'll again discuss it in the next video. Your meter reads can be an actual or an estimate. They will indicate so otherwise. So make sure it's always an actual, at least every 3 months. Otherwise, if they do an estimate every single time, and let's say they did it for 5 months, come the 6th month and they've underread, guess what? If they're underread and they read the meter, you're gonna be hit with a big bill. Now, I think you can argue the point, you can complain, but it's based on usage, so it's what you've used anyway. But you just gotta be, again, you just gotta make sure that you check your bills. Okay, so that's how electricity works. So you got your suppliers that then on sell to your retailers, that then retailers on sell to the public, which is us. Calculation wise, there's always a daily supply, which is the fixed rate, multiplied by the number of days billed, and at the same time your rate per kilowatt multiplied by the usage and the rate for that period, number of days of period. So it's usually 91 days, can even be 96. I've seen 106 days. So that's how they calculate. And then obviously you got your GST on top. You got your pay on time. Make sure you pay on time. If you don't, you'll be paying the full rate. You got your low rates, built-in discounts. So there's no discount, but it's already built in. That's why they call it low rate. You still get the same low rate even if you don't pay on time, but make sure you still pay on time, because you will be hit with a late penalty payment fee. I think it's around about $15 for hour one if you do pay late. It can range from supplier to supplier. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is contracts. Actually, let's just recap. So you got your suppliers, retailers, your consumers, which is us. Then the way we're billed, and then your billing can be monthly. What we do these days is you do monthly installments. It's called bill smoothing from, I think AGL does that. That's their term, bill smoothing. And there's the monthly installments, or you could prefer the quarterly bills. Just depends on how you budget your money for your utilities. And then now we go on to the what was I saying? The billing. So we've got the billing. Yeah, I forgot. It may come back to me later on. So discounts. You make sure you do direct debits. You can pay by BPay, credit card, obviously with a fee. What else is there? Oh yeah, on the bill itself, which I'll show. Next, it's better to have the bill in front of us, and it actually makes more sense. Gas is actually, I forgot to mention gas. Gas, so we had solar. Gas is the same way as electricity. You got your supply, and then you got your usage, which is in measured as MJ, megajoule. They do in steps. So the first block, or the first 1,000 or first 2,000 megajoules, they may charge at this rate, and the next step they might charge lower, and so forth. So just quickly touching on that. So there you go. So we might go into the next video and show you through my website how you could do your own quote and see if we're able to save you money on your electricity bills. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys.